Thursday night, September 26th, almost 8 o'clock. We're 3 days into the fourth quarter. I'm going to come out here now and do a quick synchronization of the scope. We had beautiful, beautiful sky this evening. Interestingly enough, we had a precipitate of all the smoke dust, all the vehicles that I looked at today as I was walking about. I've got a list of about a dozen, maybe a baker's dozen NGCs that I want to pick out, and all of them are wrapped around pretty much the celestial equator. A few degrees north, a few degrees south. I had such good results the other night in the sky's middle third with the settings that have evolved, and now I want to test them out a little lower in the sky. So that is my intention for the evening. So I'm going to switch on the Gemini 2 controller, give it a chance to boot up. You're seeing me do what I normally do every evening in order to set up the observatory. It doesn't take more than a couple of minutes. Well, you're not exactly seeing me because the camera is set up to image the screen and it's not sensitive enough to pick up what light is available. So, without further ado, let me get about my business. Amazingly enough, this is where Vega, which is now westering, ended up on the screen after I booted up Gemini 2, did a parked it counterweight down just to synchronize it, and then headed out for Vega. And there is our look. That's stupendously accurate for not having done a synchronization. So I'm going to tend to that now, and then we'll have a look at the Ring Nebula before we go on to the list of studies for the evening. Well, let's watch where Messier 57, the Ring Nebula, pops up on the screen. I'll do a resync to that because I have more confidence in celestial coordinates for deep sky studies than I do for stars. They do have a certain amount of motion over time. And so I'll now resynchronize to Messier 57, that splendid angularity of a dying star who is making its last burst of presence into the cosmos. Quick check, Messier 56, the globular cluster that shares the Lyre with Ring Nebula, Messier 57. There's our view. Now, I'm also hoping that maybe, just maybe, the scope won't have to go east in order to have a look at Messier 27, the dumbbell planetary. And here we have another planetary nebula, this one in Vulpecula, closer, larger, brighter. The dumbbell planetary nebula is kind of drifted a little bit towards the top of the screen. So far, everything we've seen has been pretty much in this region here. Remember, we're looking west, not east, because I think by the time I get started this evening, the first studies of the evening, which we'll be looking at, will be NGC 7006, and I suspect it will turn up to the west, although there's no guarantees of that. All right, well, I just did an equatorial flip. What you're seeing in the middle of the screen is a globular cluster, NGC 7006, in Delphinus. Faint, magnitude 10.6, and small, 2.8 arc minutes. The brightest stars are magnitude 15.6, and I do believe we're seeing a few of those. This is a class 1 globular cluster, 133,000 light years distant. It's at right ascension 210129, declination plus 16 degrees, 11 minutes and 14 seconds. We just had some kind of disturbance of the display. It's quite extraordinary. This globular cluster is further away than the actual diameter of the Milky Way galaxy, which is variously reported somewhere between 85 and 100,000 light years in diameter. So this is truly an intergalactic wanderer, and suspicions are that it is slowly being attracted towards the Milky Way. So it will join the cup of the Milky Way in its own good time. Gravity will do that to you. Another adventitious study not in the Wilterian Guide is NGC 7010, Galaxy in Aquarius. Magnitude 14, pretty large in apparent size, 1.9 by 1 arc minute, but it's an elliptical, 380 million light years distant. This one's probably about 175,000 light years in diameter, larger than the Great Andromeda Galaxy and far more massive because it is a compressed elliptical galaxy. We're at right ascension 210439, declination minus 1220, 18. The background sky doesn't look too bad. The galaxy is quite apparent, 14th magnitude. There may be others there, but I have been spoofed before in that regard by checking out the digital sky survey images associated with theskylive.com. And you should too. Okay, we're after another galaxy. This one is Equus, the horse, I believe. NGC 7015 is magnitude 12.5, 1.8 by 1.6 arc minutes. A little too faint to be in the Tyrian Guide. It's right there at the tip of my finger. It is a spiral with a lowercase bc, so 2.5 times removed from the lenticular class, 220 million light years distant. We're at right ascension 210537, 1124, 49, positive direction from the celestial equator, another adventitious study. Okay, this will be the last of the adventitious studies for the time being. NGC 7034, it's a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 13.8, 1 by 0.7 arc minute size elliptical, 398 million light years distant with a right ascension of 210938 and a declination of 15 degrees 9 minutes and 0 seconds. I do believe I'm seeing something galactic right about there. There's also another faint fuzzy in this location. Let's move on to something that was in the Wilterian list and have a look at it. As you might suspect, this is obviously a very bright globular cluster, and it probably has a Messier designation. In fact, it is NGC 7089, globular cluster in Aquarius, Messier 2, magnitude 6.5, 11.7 arc minutes in size. The brightest stars are magnitude 13.1, and they are all over the screen there. It's a class 2, very densely packed, 37,000 light years distant. Given its location, I would say it's kind of like spiraling out near the outer rim of the Milky Way. Right ascension 213327, declination only 49 minutes and 23 seconds in the negative. So there is our look at Messier 2. What we have here is a very bright and condensed not globular cluster. This is NGC 7177, a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 11.2. We're seeing the core and some extensions of a 3.2 by 2.1 arc minute size spiral with a bar in lowercase b, 51 million light years distant, probably about 50,000 light years in diameter. It's at right ascension 22 hours and 41 seconds, declination plus 17, 44, 15. I think I'll go and look for a few more adventitious studies before we skip to the next Wilterian Guide entry, which is 7448. That's way out there. So yeah, let's just move on and explore some more adventitious type studies. NGC 7183 galaxy in Aquarius is magnitude 11.9, 3.8 by 1.1 arc minutes, spiral with a lowercase e, a, 114 million light years distant. Puts this galaxy probably about 100 to 110,000 light years in diameter. It's at right ascension 220221, declination minus 18,550, giving us a nice, splendid 3:1 aspect ratio suboblate view. Very impressed. This one probably should have, maybe I missed it, but it should be an entry in the Wiltirian guide, and you can go and you can mark it in your star charts because it's worth the time to look it up. There we have it. Despite being almost minus 20 degrees in declination, we are getting a solid view. My, here is an even more splendid NGC galaxy in Aquarius. NGC 7184, magnitude 10.9, large 5.9 by 1.3 arc minutes, spiral with a bar, so this is pretty much an edge on, with a lowercase c and a ring, which means it should have a well-defined frontier. 114 million light years distant puts this at probably over 200,000 light years in diameter. Its right ascension 220239, declination minus 20 degrees, 48 minutes, 46 seconds. My next Tyrian entry is 7448. It's too early to be looking for that. I will skip up a few more until we get to about 7200 and then let things settle for a while. But enjoy NGC 7184. Well, don't look for anything faint and fuzzy on this screen. What you're seeing here is obviously an open cluster. NGC 7193, open cluster Pegasus. No information about it other than the fact that it's 3,500 light years distant. We are at right ascension 220303 and declination plus 10 degrees, 48 minutes and 6 seconds. All right, I'm going to continue up to 7200. Other than that, maybe we'll have one view of the dumbbell planetary before I retire for most of the evening until perhaps something in the 7400 NGC range begins to get close to culmination. It's now about 9:45, 45 minutes later or so from my previous session. What you're looking at here is NGC 7448, a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 11.7, 2.6 by 1.2 arc minutes, giving a pretty decent view. Spiral with a lowercase bc, 101 million light years distant, puts this baby at about 60,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 23 hours and 3 seconds, almost nailed it. Declination 15 degrees, 58 minutes, 48 seconds in the northerly direction. There's our view. Not too far from NGC 7448 with 7454. What we're seeing here is a magnitude 11.8, 2.2 by 1.6 arc minute size elliptical galaxy in Pegasus. 84 million light years distant means this is about 50,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 230106, declinations plus 16, 2320. Here we have another adventitious galaxy, one that should be in, let me check my list, 7454854. No, it's not. NGC 7457, I did not take off the list, it's adventitious. Galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 11.2, 4 by 2.3 arc minutes, spiral of lenticular class, 40 million light years distant, probably 40,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 23 hours, 59 seconds, declination a little further north than I expected to go this evening, but that's fine. Plus 30 degrees, 8 minutes and 40 seconds. This next study is most definitely a Wiltirian class Sky Atlas entry. It comes right off the Atlas. NGC 7479 is a galaxy in Pegasus, magnitude 10.94 by 3.1 arc minutes. And that aspect ratio usually begs of something that looks more ovular, but this baby is presenting more edge on. Spiral with a bar, lowercase bc, 109 million light years distant, so it's about 130,000 light years in diameter. Right ascension 2304.56, declination plus 12 degrees 19 minutes and 20 seconds. A very nice look. This should be a pretty nice adventitious discovery. Why? It's got a great aspect ratio, 1.3 to 0.3 arc minutes. Edgy on, with probably about a 4 to 1 plus aspect ratio. This galaxy, 7480A, is a magnitude 15.1, which gives you an idea of how fine even a faint 15th magnitude galaxy can look, as long as its presentation gives you a sense of extension and a frontier. Spiral with a lowercase a, 212 million light years distance, probably about 70,000 light years in diameter. We're at right ascension 2305.13, declination 2 degrees 32 minutes and 57 seconds. Not bad for a 15.1 magnitude galaxy. Once again, we're going to probe the limits a little bit here with NGC 7551, a galaxy in Pegasus, also 7540. Magnitude 15.7.5 by 0.3 arc minute size elliptical galaxy at 23 hours, 14 minutes, 36 seconds right ascension, plus 1557.03 in declination. I do believe we can see the galaxy right there. It's quite apparent. It looks like we might have a pair of galaxies. One, a very large edge on. That's the one I was basically shooting for. It's in the Tyrian Guide. NGC 7541, galaxy in Pisces. It's also 7581. Magnitude 11.9, 3 to 1 aspect ratio, 3.5 arc minutes by 1.2, spiral with a lowercase c, 115 million light years distant, puts it at about 100,000 light years in diameter. Obviously has a neighboring galaxy right there. Very nice view for the evening. For our final view of the evening, we see Messier 30, globular cluster in Capricorn, magnitude 6.9, 8.9 arc minutes in size, 26,100 light years distant. So about the third the size of Messier 13, and at the Great Hercules cluster, and at a similar distance. We're at right ascension 21 hours, 40 minutes and 22 seconds, but our declination is pretty seriously south, roughly 21 to 22 degrees above the horizon, just post-culminatory at minus 23 degrees, 10 minutes and 45 seconds. And I would like to point out that Messier 30, if you've ever done a Messier marathon, typically occurring around the end of March, early April during the new moon, this is one of the last of the Messier catalog that you would turn up if about 4:30 to 5 o'clock in the morning, all bleary-eyed, after an extensive period, and if you didn't have a go-to system like I have before me, of actually pushing a scope around in right ascension and declination, or a Dobsonian, pushing it around and azimuth and declination, you would be very filled with a sense of accomplishment. And with that, I will say, Carpe Noctem.